This podcast was produced using artificial intelligence and refined by human editors.
Hello, fellow nomads, and welcome to another episode of Travel with Lara and Luca, the podcast that takes you deep into the heart of cities around the world. I'm Luca.
And I'm Lara. Today we're embarking on an audio odyssey to one of the world's most mesmerizing cities, Cairo, the magnificent capital of Egypt and the cradle of civilization.
Cairo, the city that's been serenading travelers with tales of pharaohs, pyramids, and papyrus for centuries. We have much to cover, so let's dive in, shall we?
Absolutely, Luca. Picture this. Bustling streets, charming chaos, the call to prayer echoing through a labyrinth of alleys, and, of course, the grandeur of ancient wonders. Cairo is not just a city, it's a timeline of human history.
But before we tread the paths where history was inscribed, let's remind our listeners, Lara, why are we drawn time and time again to this city of 1,000 minarets?
Well, each visit unfurls another layer of its story, Luca. I remember sitting in the vast expanse of Tahrir Square, watching a whirlwind of daily life and feeling the pulse of this city. It's like nowhere else on Earth.
And let's not forget the nights, Lara. Cairo after dark is a world unto itself. Lively cafes, music hanging in the air, the fragrant smoke of shisha blending with stories as old as the stars overhead.
Oh, and the food, Luca. I can almost taste the rich spices and the sweetness of honeyed desserts, but let's not give everything away just yet.
Right you are. There's so much to explore in today's episode. Iconic sites, where we'll shed light on the spectacles that make Cairo, well, Cairo.
Followed by a dive into the delicious cuisine that will have our listeners' mouths watering faster than you can say koshari.
And just when you think you know Cairo, we'll reveal hidden gems that even the seasoned traveler might have overlooked.
Not to mention the must-see places, those spots that have the magic thread of Cairo's essence woven into them, spaces where every corner tells a story.
And because we like to mix it up a little, we'll indulge in some weird facts about Cairo that might just have you Googling if we've made them up. Spoiler alert, we haven't.
History buffs, fret not. We've carved out a special segment on Cairo's history seen through our slightly offbeat lens.
Lastly, for those itching to pack their bags and follow in our sand-dusted footprints, we'll arm you with expert travel tips to navigate Cairo like us.
And because Cairo's allure often spills beyond its borders, we'll wrap up with side excursions that promise adventures just a stone's throw from the city's heartbeat.
I'm warmed up and ready to go. So to kick things off, let's start this journey at the very beginning, the iconic sights of Cairo. From ancient wonders to sky-grazing landmarks, these are the sights that every traveler dreams of. Welcome back to Travel with Lara and Luca, the show where we dig into the heart of Cairo, a city that's witnessed millennia come to pass from atop its sandy throne.
And speaking of thrones, the timeless guardians of this kingdom are none other than the iconic sights of Cairo. The Great Pyramids of Giza, anyone?
Oh, absolutely. These grand structures have stood the test of time, and still to this day, they radiate a sense of mystery and awe. Just imagine the countless sunrises they've seen.
A sunrise, yes, but remember that time we caught the sunset there? The way the light played off the stones, it was like watching history blush in the evening glow.
How poetically put, Lara. But let's not forget the engineering marvel that is the Great Sphinx. It's literally carved out of the bedrock, a silent protector of Pharaoh's eternal resting places.
I like to think of it as the most ancient and perhaps the most majestic no trespassing sign in history. But seriously, have you ever felt such a strong presence from any other statue?
Only when staring at a deep dish pizza after my 2-week diet. But let's pivot north, shall we? The Cairo Tower, the lotus-shaped symbol of modern Egypt, offers a panoramic view like no other.
Yet another site we've debated endlessly. You think it's the lotus flower, while I stand by the idea that it represents a pharaonic scepter piercing the sky. It's the point where ancient and modern collide in the skyline.
You've got a point. Still, it's the view from up there, that sea of minarets and the mighty Nile, that truly captures Cairo's eternal hustle and bustle.
Now, drifting through this city's heart, you enter through the citadel's gates. The Muhammad Ali Mosque dominating the fortification scape is nothing short of Cairo's Ono's Alhambra.
Its alabaster shine under the sun. There's a legend about Muhammad Ali Pasha, the mosque's namesake, that says he was
so caught up in its beauty that he missed his chance to dine with kings.
Oh, I wouldn't blame him. Dining with kings or admiring a masterpiece. A tough choice, if you ask me.
Life is full of tough choices, and Cairo's skyline, it's like an open book of those layered histories painted across the horizon.
All right, so we've gone over a good height competition here. Which do you think offers the best city views, Lara?
The towers got the height, but the pyramids, they have the legacy. Let's leave it up to our listeners. Send us your votes, folks.
I'm sure we'll have quite the debate there. But for now, let's warm up our taste buds, because up next, we've got the delicious cuisine of Cairo.
Ah, yes, where we'll discover that food here is more than sustenance. It's a story in every bite.
Stay tuned as we take you from street carts to royal banquets, all in the bustling heart of Egypt. Ah, the moment I've eagerly awaited, talking about Cairo's flavor-packed treasures.
Honestly, Luca, a journey to Cairo is a sensory feast, but the cuisine, oh, the cuisine, is a love affair for the taste buds.
Agreed, and there's no better place to start than with koshari, Egypt's unofficial national dish.
Koshari, a carb bonanza in a bowl. Lentils, pasta, rice topped with the signature tomato sauce and those crispy onions.
I can almost hear the crunch. Fun fact, Lara, koshari isn't originally Egyptian. It's said to be an Italian-Indian fusion brought by the British.
Your fasciology always spices things up. Full madames, however, now that's as Egyptian as it gets. What I wouldn't give to be sat on a Cairo street right now with a warm bowl.
Ah, fava beans, slow cooked to perfection, then served with oil, garlic, and lemon juice. True simplicity creating sublime flavors.
And let's not forget the all-important side of baladi bread.
No Egyptian meal is complete without it, as pillowy and warm as a morning in the Sahara.
Your poetry is making me hungry.
I shall continue to torment you with talk of street food then. Shawarma stands are everywhere, but finding the best in Cairo, that's the quest.
I reckon I won the quest on my last visit, just off Talat Harb Street, that tiny little stand with the never-ending line.
It's a source of pride finding the one. I still swear by the one near Al-Azhar Park. Juicy, tender, with just the right amount of spice and tahini.
Oh, the endless debates we could have over shawarma.
Let's sweeten the conversation. Egyptian desserts. My favorite, baklava. And Cairo does them so well, filled with nuts, drenched in honey syrup, pure bliss.
Baklava's rich history is just as delightful. Would you believe it's been around since the 8th century BC?
It wouldn't surprise me. Their taste is timeless. Let's not forget about basbousa, kunafa.
Hold on, Luca. How about those little-known sweets like fatir mishaltet?
Ah, the flaky layered pastry you can fill with sweet or savory, multi-talented indeed.
For those with an adventurously sweet palate. And finally, you can't conclude without having mint tea.
Absolutely. It's like drinking in Cairo's soul.
Picture this, sipping tea after a long day exploring, the call to prayer echoing in the distance, and the city's heartbeat rhythmically slowing down as the sun sets over the Nile.
Lara, you've painted a scene, and now our listeners must be yearning for Cairo just as much as we are.
And our listeners deserve to experience these culinary wonders firsthand. Maybe gather a few recipes to attempt the magic of Cairo kitchens at home.
Or simply immerse themselves in the tales until they can dine under a Cairo sky.
But let's not give away all our secrets just yet.
Indeed, we should let our listeners discover some on their own.
And speaking of discovery, up next, we're diving into Cairo's hidden gems, those marvelous spots still veiled in the shadows of the city's eternal charm.
Ah, the heartbeat of Cairo. It's not just found in the well-trodden paths to the pyramids. Welcome back, fellow explorers, to Travel with Lara and Luca. This segment, Hidden Gems.
Indeed, Luca. And while everyone's racing to the next marked spot on their tourist maps, we're about to unveil the true undercover delights of Cairo, aren't we?
You took the words right out of my mouth, Lara. When I think of Cairo's hidden treasures, my mind instantly wanders to the alleyways of Darb 1718. It's an arts and culture center, but oh, so much more. Have you been, Lara?
Of course. It's like stumbling upon an oasis of art. Tucked away in old Cairo, this spot just draws you in with its contemporary art exhibits, and you know how I live for those vibrant music performances.
Ah, the concerts. I've never felt such kinetic energy, as if even the stones resonate with the beat of Cairo's heart. And their workshops, it's like every craft whispers a different Cairo secret.
True artistry. Speaking of whispers, I've got to tell you about my love affair with Al-Darb al-Ahmar, the mosaic of historical buildings, Luca. You can literally see the layers of time.
Oh, the artisans there. Remember when I told you about that little shop where they handcrafted those ornate lanterns?
How could I forget? I bought 3. They're hanging over my kitchen island now. But Luca, it's not just about buying. It's about the stories each craftsman shares as they mold and shape their work.
And add the spice of royalty with our next gem, the Manial Palace. That place is a historical feast. Did you know it was built by Prince Muhammad Ali?
A real-life prince. Yes, I've walked through its rooms, each telling a tale of luxury, mixed with learning. I mean, that Rhoda Island location, with its exquisite gardens like something out of a fairy tale.
And the architecture. Lara, remember the chandelier in the throne room? A dance of light and shadow. It's no wonder you're always lost in design wonderland there.
Royalty might have had their escapes from the city, but we've our very own nature retreat. Shall we let them in on Wadi Degla Protectorate?
Oh, we shall. My runner's paradise in the desert. Those limestone cliffs feel like guardians watching over you as you explore.
And that one time I spotted an ibex. It was surreal. I mean, in the cradle of Cairo's arms to find such wilderness, and most Cairenes don't even know it's there.
It's the perfect tapestry of serenity against the city's clamor. And speaking of serenity, let's read out that lovely message from one of our listeners about their encounter with a hidden gem.
Oh, here's one from Hannah in Giza. Dear Lara and Luca, I found my own slice of hidden Cairo at the Ibn Tulun Mosque. Climbing that minaret gave me the most unexpected view of the city. I felt like a time traveler.
Beautifully said, Hannah. And that's exactly what those rare finds are about. Feeling connected through time and space in unexpected ways.
Timeless indeed, kind of like Cairo itself. But dear listeners, whilst our hidden gems may remain hidden to many, our next segment certainly should not.
Oh, they're in for a treat, Lara, because after the break, we're heading back to the surface for our must-see places. Yes, the ones you jot down feverishly in your notebooks, because trust us, you won't want to miss out.
And here's a little spoiler. Think of gold, think of grandeur, and think of, well, you'll just have to wait and tune in for that.
Until then, keep your curiosity shimmering and your explorer's spirit ready.
Take care, and we can't wait to share more of Cairo's essential beauty with you. Next on Travel with Lara and Luca.
Welcome back, Globetrotters. You're tuned into Travel with Lara and Luca, and we're about to deep dive into the must-see places of Cairo. Brace yourselves. This segment is jam-packed with wonders.
Let's kick off with the Egyptian Museum, or as I call it, the treasure chest of antiquities. Standing guard at Tahrir Square, it's home to an overwhelming collection of artifacts. Luca, what's the most peculiar object you've encountered there?
Aha, Lara, that's a tough one. The gold mask of Tutankhamun is the crowd puller, but it's the lesser-known trinkets, like board games played by the ancients, that tickle my history bone.
I thought I might find you there, nestled between mummies, contemplating ancient leisure. But let's not forget the building itself. With those red bricks and neoclassical features, it's both a capsule of history and an architectural statement.
Indeed, the museum's walls whisper tales from eons past. Now, pivoting from the whispers of antiquities, let's ascend into Old Cairo, where the Hanging Church seems to float in time.
Oh, the Hanging Church? Suspended above the gatehouse of the Roman fortress, it seems to defy gravity. The wooden roof, shaped like Noah's Ark, cradles such serene vibes. Luca, did you feel the tranquility during your visit?
Absolutely, Lara. Stepping out of Cairo's buzzing streets into that serenity felt like discovering an oasis of calm. The mix of Coptic Christian designs with Islamic motifs is just a fascinating testament to Cairo's diverse heritage.
Couldn't agree more. Speaking of diversity, next up is Tahrir Square. A symbol of new beginnings, don't you think?
For sure, Lara. It's the heartbeat of modern Egypt. It might not have the allure of ancient stages, but history is as much about the present as it is the past. Plus, the buzz one gets from standing in the midst of such a powerful place. It's electric.
Well said. The square has witnessed everything from concerts to historic revolutions. But let's not forget the greener side of Cairo, the lush spells of Zamalek, nestled on its own island in the Nile.
Zamalek is like the leafy retreat in the middle of urban chaos. Those 19th century palaces and villas, now home to embassies and chic art galleries, mix sophistication with Cairo's ever-present pulse.
Might I interject with my prose dedicated to Zamalek? Where palm trees dance and the Nile sings, Zamalek's embrace warmly clings.
Poetic justice to Zamalek's charm, Lara. Listeners, if you're not yearning for a stroll down Zamalek by now, then we must be doing something wrong.
I'm sure they are, Luca. But right, we could ramble about Zamalek all day. With that poetry in our hearts, let's shift gears and gear up for the surprise segment.
The Weird Facts segment. Oh, Cairo has some doozies up its sleeve. Listeners, prepare to have your minds bemused and befuddled.
But before you listeners slide off to the quirky edge, let's revisit Cairo's must-sees. Whether your taste leans toward the historical, the spiritual, or the peculiar, these places we've discussed are windows into the city's soul.
And that wraps up our tour of Cairo's indispensable delights. Lara, the Weird Facts segment is next. Care for a tiny spoiler?
Just this once, Luca. Here's one for free. We'll be talking about a garden where statues speak and legends grow. Join us after the break for that and more.
Welcome back to Travel with Lara and Luca. This episode is full of surprises, like the city itself, and we're moving on to some of Cairo's weird, wacky, and utterly wonderful facts.
Oh, Luca, where do we even begin? Cairo is eclectic, it's eccentric, it's got its own quirky heartbeat, doesn't it?
It certainly does. Let me kick things off with something I find brilliantly bizarre. Did you know that Cairo is sometimes called the City of the Dead, Lara?
You're talking about the sprawling necropolis, right? Cairo's got this ancient cemetery that's, well, it's alive.
Exactly. People actually live among the tombs. They've got shops, tea houses, makes you think they've got some very quiet neighbors.
The quietest, but the residents say the spirits of their ancestors watch over them. There's a certain poetic, if not ghostly, quality to it.
Speaking of ghostly, there's another mystery I simply have to mention: the strange sounds from within the Great Pyramid. Some say they've heard eerie noises, like an ancient pharaoh whispering secrets.
Whispers, Luca, stop eating all the falafel. Like that? Though I heard it was more of a windy howl. There are theories they're just echoes of the wind hitting the pyramid at certain angles, right?
That's one of the more logical explanations, but where's the fun in that, Lara? I prefer the legends, those whispered tales of curses and restless pharaohs.
Maybe someone just left their radio on? Easy mistake. And hey, here's my contribution to Weird Facts. Did you know Cairo had a law that if you climbed to the top of the Pyramid of Khafre, you could take it home?
Not sure if that's weird or just plain absurd. Imagine someone trying to fit the tip of a pyramid in their backpack.
Excuse me, sir, this belongs to me. I touched it first. Now, for our next fact, Luca, ever tried ancient Egyptian board games?
I'm not sure I've had the pleasure.
Well, Senet was all the rage among ancient Egyptians, and some believe it's still being played in its modern form around Cairo.
Would it count as the world's longest-running board game, then?
Quite possibly, from kings and queens to the kids in Tahrir Square, a game transcending time. How often does that happen?
Not often enough. And for our adventurous listeners out there, next time you're in Cairo, why not roam around and try to discover the modern cousin of this ancient pastime?
Now let's pivot to something less ancient but equally peculiar. Luca, ever danced with a crocodile at a wedding?
I can't say that I have, Lara, and I've attended some peculiar weddings in my time.
For that, you might want to attend a traditional Zaramo wedding. Wait for it. Yes, with an actual crocodile in tow.
Cairo never ceases to surprise and sometimes terrify. Lara, with all this talk of weird facts, I'm sure our listeners are itching to discover more wacky wonders themselves.
Absolutely. And when you all do take that big Cairo leap, why not try to top our facts with your own? It'll be a tall order, though.
And with those strange but true snippets of Cairo under our belts, what do we have for them next, Lara?
Hold on to your hats because after the break, we're transporting you back in time. The history of Cairo is as rich and textured as a tapestry from Khan el-Khalili.
We'll dive into the twists and turns of Cairo's past, uncovering how this incredible city has maintained its heart and soul through centuries of change.
Stay with us for this voyage through time. It's a ride you won't want to miss here on Travel with Lara and Luca.
And now we wade into the rich tapestry of Cairo's history, where every stone tells a story.
A city layered with narratives, right, Luca? It's like an archaeological dig, but with tales instead of artifacts.
Precisely. It's time to unveil the epochal chronicles of Al-Qahira, the Victorious, a name given by its Fatimid founders.
Al-Qahira, it rolls off the tongue with a sense of triumph, doesn't it?
It does. And the victories aren't just in battles, but in culture, in architecture, and in resiliency.
Speaking of architecture, makes me think of how pharaonic influences echo through the ages in Cairo, the ancient obelisks right in the beating heart of the city.
True, Lara. Those obelisks are timeless, still casting shadows over Cairo as they did over the lands of the pharaohs.
But the true bridge between ancient and more recent history was the Rosetta Stone, don't you think?
Absolutely. The Rosetta Stone was like a key that unlocked a forgotten language.
And isn't it ironic how that unlocked language tells us so much about the city's history?
The city's been a melting pot, right from the Arab conquest, then the Fatimids, Ayyubids, the Mamluks. Oh, the stories they left behind.
Each dynasty leaving a layer to the foundation of Cairo we walk on today.
Remember the Mamluks and their distinctive architecture? I always marvel at the intricate design of their mosques and madrasas.
Aye, you can't miss those minarets. But then Cairo was a protagonist in a whole new drama when the Ottomans took over.
It was indeed. They influenced everything from cuisine to culture. Even the Turkish coffee we sip today is a heritage of the Ottoman era.
And let's not forget Napoleon's short-lived but impactful stay. Cairo has had a dash of French flair ever since.
Yes, quite a plot twist in Cairo's storyline.
Then the British came, setting the stage for Cairo's modern history.
Modern history that saw Cairo grow into the sprawling metropolis we now know, amidst a backdrop of shifting sovereignty, revolution, and rebirth.
And the Arab Spring, that cannot go unmentioned. It's too pivotal. Tahrir Square was suddenly more than just a landmark.
It plunged Cairo into the global spotlight once again, a testament to the city's enduring spirit.
The people of Cairo have always been the true authors of their history.
And they still write it, Lara. On the walls, in the streets, the very air of Tahrir Square whispers of change and hope.
Hope, yes. Just walking through Cairo, you feel a sense of pride and determination.
That's true. Cairo has faced times of unrest, but its heart never stops beating, pulsing with the rhythms of thousands of years of civilization.
From the pharaoh's grandeur to today's vibrant chaos, it's a city always looking forward, standing on the shoulders of history.
Shoulder to shoulder with the past, looking into the future. That's Cairo for you.
And with that, we wrap up our dive into history. We might be leaving the past behind,
but we're taking with us the stories of survival and reinvention. So stay tuned as we leap from tales of the past to tips that could revolutionize your travel. Next up, expert travel advice for modern-day adventurers in Cairo.
Welcome back to Travel with Lara and Luca. We're your go-to experts for Cairo, and in this segment, we're dishing out some invaluable travel tips that could make or break your trip to this chaotic, charming city.
That's right, Lara. Cairo's traffic is legendary, and not in a good way. But you've somehow managed to navigate it on two wheels, right?
Oh, you mean my daring escapades with the Cairo Cyclists Club? Picture this. You're on a bicycle weaving through a symphony of honking cars amid smells of street food and exhaust. It's exhilarating.
And potentially petrifying for the uninitiated. For our more grounded travelers, grab a reputable taxi, use a ride-sharing app, or for the authentic Cairene experience, hop on a microbus if you're brave.
Oh, the microbus. Affordable, yes. Predictable, no. All right, so let's talk sleeping arrangements. Luca, you've got some hotel hacks up your sleeve, don't you?
Indeed. The trick is location, location, location. If it's your first visit, staying in Zamalek is like being in an oasis, green, relatively quiet, and central.
True, but I hear people talking about downtown for that historic vibe. You can practically hear the walls whispering tales of the past.
Now, let's get to the bazaars. You'll find treasures and trinkets, but remember, the price first quoted is but a starting point of what I call the haggling dance.
A dance, is it? Well then, let me set the scene. I'm a shopkeeper. You're the unsuspecting tourist. Approach me, tourist, and covet this beautiful, absolutely genuine papyrus.
Ah, this piece has caught my eye. How much?
For you, my friend, only 500 pounds.
It's beautiful, but that's a bit steep. How about 200?
200? This papyrus was made by the pharaohs themselves, but for you, 400.
And so the dance goes on until you strike a deal you're both somewhat happy with.
It's all in good fun. Now, timing is everything when visiting popular sites. Luca, when do you reckon is the best time to see the el-Khalili Bazaar?
Get there early in the evening when the lights start to glitter, but before the night crowds surge. It's a magical time.
Yes, but for places like the Egyptian Museum, right when the doors open, you might get a moment alone with King Tut.
Speaking of the museum, here's a major tip. Dress conservatively, out of respect, and to blend in a bit more. What about some language basics, Lara?
Shukran means thank you. Men fadlak if you're speaking to a man, and men fadlek to a woman means please. I've had my share of mix-ups like saying yalla, which means let's go, when I actually wanted to say halas, which is enough.
Imagine a Cairo market with Lara running around yelling, "Let's go," at every vendor. Cultural norms, dear listeners, are your invisible passport around here.
Absolutely, and learn how to say no, la, firmly but with a smile. You'll need it to navigate the sea of enthusiastic salespeople.
Another thing, keep small change on you. Tipping isn't just for restaurants, it's part of the culture here, and it's called bakshish.
Not to be thrown around, but always good to have on hand for people who help you out. Attendants, guides, and the like.
Now, let's give a teaser for our next must-hear segment. Do you know what's better than Cairo, Lara?
Let me think. More Cairo?
Almost. It's what lies beyond. Day trips and excursions that are as captivating as the city itself. We're talking beach getaways, desert adventures, and other surprises.
So don't miss it, adventurers. Let's meet back here after a short break to reveal the wonders that await just a stone's throw from Cairo's hustle and bustle. And while the heartbeat of Cairo might be addictive, sometimes you just need a little side trip to catch your breath. Welcome to the Side Excursions segment, where we whisk you away to adventures just outside the city's embrace.
Totally. It's like when you've had too much coffee and need that glass of water just to balance things out. Cairo's intensity is incredible, but the areas around, they're like the saucer to Cairo's coffee cup.
Such a poet you are, Luca. Speaking of poetic, my last trip to Saqqara was an absolute dream. Walking through the desert sands, the step pyramid of Djoser looming in the distance, it's hauntingly beautiful.
And Saqqara is like the time capsule that never made it to the museum, right? The necropolis, with its whispers of the past, there's nothing quite like it.
Exactly. It's the sort of place where every grain of sand has a story, and even the air feels ancient.
Let's not forget, Saqqara is home to tombs that predate the Great Pyramids. That blew my mind the first time I heard it.
And each tomb is like a personal diary to a life lived thousands of years ago. Can you imagine?
You and your diaries. But no, I can't. My imagination is pretty wild, but standing there, it's like each hieroglyph reaches out and pulls you back in time.
And just when you think you've seen all there is to see around Cairo, there's Ain Sokhna. My experience there was, to put it lightly, a shock to the system.
Shock in a good way, of course. If you, dear listeners, haven't dipped your toes into the Red Sea yet, then you're missing out.
Warm waters, golden sands, and it's just over an hour's drive from Cairo. Luca, remember when you tried to jet ski and...
Lara, we promised each other no embarrassing stories, remember? Let's stick to the magic of the sea and the stunning mountain backdrop.
Fine, but that view of the el-Khalili mountain, it was like nature staging its own opera, and we had front row seats.
That's precisely it. And for those a bit more spiritual, a venture to Sinai is something that goes beyond a mere excursion, wouldn't you say?
Oh, without a doubt. Sinai feels like a planet to itself. the mountains, the deep historical and religious roots, there's a serenity there that's unmatched.
And if climbing Mount Sinai is too much, the colored canyons offer a whole different type of tranquility.
Painted by nature's hand. But the real hidden jewel there is the St. Catherine's Monastery at the foot of the mountain. Believed to be the site of the burning bush, remember when
you tried to go all biblical and take off your shoes, that monk gave you such a look.
It seemed appropriate, but talk about a historic treasure, though. The monastery holds manuscripts and icons that are almost too precious to believe.
Precious like your next Nile cruise story. That had everyone back here biting their nails waiting for your updates.
I will trek off the beaten path, won't I? Our boat took us into the quieter waters, the less traveled routes. We woke up to herons alongside us and the gentlest sunrise. It was different, but completely mesmerizing.
Slow down, Chief. Don't forget to mention, folks, this is not your usual trip to Luxor or Aswan. Lara's talking about a unique kind of cruise, one that takes you to smaller villages and untouched islands.
Leave it to you to clarify. But you know what they say, a change is as good as a rest, and nothing says change like Alexandria. Luca, your spiel on Alex was impressive. Anyone would think you were born there.
Oh, please. I just know a good coastal city when I see one. Alexandria has it all. The Mediterranean Sea, a glorious library, and historical sites that rival those of Cairo.
Seafood there is just, it's another level.
Yes, you and your love affair with Alexandrian seafood. Everyone, just promise us you'll try the fish tagine when you're there.
We've almost come to the end of our little side excursion tour. I hope we've inspired you to explore beyond Cairo's borders.
And remember, these little trips can offer a whole new perspective on Egypt. They're well worth your time.
But we're not done with Cairo just yet. Up next, we'll circle back and wrap up today's journey with our final thoughts on this magnificent city. And just like the winding streets of Cairo's old town, we've reached the final stretch of today's journey.
I can't believe how fast time has flown by. It feels like we've just embarked on our podcast version Nile cruise together.
It's been an absolute roller coaster, hasn't it? From the pyramids to the bustling bazaars, Cairo has never ceased to amaze us.
Talking about the iconic sites was like walking through the corridors of history with our listeners. The Sphinx was probably looking at us, grinning with secrets we're yet to uncover.
And then we took everyone's taste buds on a whirlwind tour with our delicious cuisine segment. You know, I can still taste that shawarma we fought over in my dreams.
Oh, and let's not forget diving into the hidden gems. I'm still getting messages about that art center, Darb 1718. Who knew contemporary art could coexist with Cairo's ancient charms so perfectly?
True. And our listeners got served a hearty plate of must-see places. I bet even the hanging church bells were ringing in approval as we explored Coptic Cairo.
Weird facts were a particular favorite of mine. Your reenactment of the ancient board games, I almost wanted to dig out my childhood Senate set.
The history segment was like unlocking a treasure chest of Cairo's past, piecing together a timeline from pharaohs to present day. You have quite a knack for bringing those dusty old facts back to life, Professor Luca.
Ah, thank you, Miss Lara. But let's not overlook the golden nuggets of wisdom shared in our expert travel tips. I have a feeling our traffic navigating advice will save a few of our listeners from some quintessential Cairo chaos.
And transformation seems to be the theme of the day, as we concluded with enchanting side excursions. Your story about the unexpected Nile cruise detour had me at the edge of my seat.
Oh, I aim to please. But your tales of Sinai's spiritual aura were no less captivating. It's clear there's not just a lot to see, but also so much to feel in and around Cairo.
You got that right. I guess as we wrap up today's episode, it just goes to show what a complex, layered, and irresistible city Cairo is.
I couldn't agree more. You know, I think I've fallen in love with the city all over again during today's chat.
Me too. It's been magical, poignant, and filled with surprises at every corner, just like Cairo itself.
And a huge shout out to you, our listeners, for being the best travel companions we could ask for. Don't hesitate to drop us your Cairo stories. We're all ears.
Yes, keep those stories, suggestions, and weird facts coming. Our inbox is always open for you to share the Cairo you know and love.
That's the beauty of this podcast. It's not just about our voices, it's about creating a global community of curious souls bound together by wanderlust.
So, till our next adventure, remember to pack extra socks, stay hydrated, and always, I mean always, keep a spare SD card for those unexpected picture-perfect moments.
Thank you for allowing us into your ears and for the pleasure of your virtual company on this incredible journey through Cairo.
It's goodbye for now, but the conversation never ends. Tune in next time when we'll be unraveling another captivating destination with stories, tips, and laughter that'll make your heart wander.
Keep exploring, keep dreaming, and most importantly, keep traveling with Lara and Luca.
Farewell, friends.
And remember, every trip is a story waiting to be told. Until then, safe travels and see you soon.